Welcome to the virtual lunch. Today is Friday, May 7th, and this is virtual lunch number 299. I am honored today that Koehn, the CFO for Gould and Ratner, is our guest. This is part of our wonderful series on growth and efficiency with SurePoint. And Koehn, we welcome you.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
All right. So Koehn, we'd love for you to just tell us a little bit about your background and your role at Gould and Ratner.
So I am an accountant, a CPA. I have spent about half my career in legal, and when I haven't worked at law firms, I've gone as far away as possible and worked in the trading industry. I've gone back and forth. You cannot imagine an industry more different from the buttoned up world of law than the trading industry. It's been interesting because, first of all, we haven't known when that point is actually going to come. When this whole thing started, we thought that point was last May, and then it was last June, and then it was last August. And so the point of where it's post-pandemic keeps moving, but we're doing a lot of talking with our people across the board. Our partners, our staff, really trying to understand a couple things. First of all, comfort levels about returning to work, about if we're in the office, how people are going to be situated. There's been a lot of conversations in that front. We ultimately think we're going to return to the office in, and then really trying to not lose sight of what we might have gained from the pandemic. That's one of the things that we've really been trying to emphasize is some good came out of what we've gone through in the past year. For those of you who know Debbie Foster, I remember something she said is that the legal industry moved forward 10 years in 10 weeks. Our firm had been on a paperless trajectory for about 5 years. Well, that happened overnight. We don't do paper anything anymore. So that's part of our post-pandemic discussion as well, is what changed and what is going to go back to how it was. There's a strong sense that the younger attorneys, the associates, really need that mentoring time with the older attorneys and the more experienced attorneys, and they're really missing out on that by working from home. And it's just people aren't as willing, or they don't feel as comfortable picking up the phone as they do stopping by somebody's office. There's going to be an expectation that the younger attorneys are in the office more. I look at my team, for example, there wouldn't necessarily be that same need for the accounting team to be in there as much. Practice assistants, they're going to have to coordinate with their attorneys. It's not going to make a lot of sense for a practice assistant and their attorney to have different schedules. We have added on some really robust training platforms. We've signed up for this Affinity University, and every week we publish what we suggest people go to that week or that month. We're hoping that they'll take advantage of these opportunities. We've also done something on a little more legal oriented education track with a company called PLI. We're not going to force people into the education, but we want it to be available so that they know we're recognizing that they might not be getting everything in person that they otherwise would have, and we're trying to fill that gap a little bit. To an extent, what we're noticing is it's harder to get new clients during a pandemic. You don't have the opportunity to wine and dine people, take them out, build the relationships. So what has changed is there's been more of a focus on the current client base and really reinforcing those relationships. And out of that increased conversation, maybe finding additional work with your existing client base. That's the big change that I've noticed. Is obviously there's no travel, there's no entertainment. So landing new clients is really tough. We're in about year 4 of a profitability initiative. It was something we started 4 years ago. It's something we're really focusing on quite a bit. We took about a year to develop our profitability model. Took about a year to do a soft rollout. We've been reporting on it now for 2 years. This year, we're going to actually include it in the compensation process. But what we've done is divided our client base into 4 quadrants. We set a revenue threshold and we set a profitability threshold. And then we took all our clients and divided them into 4 quadrants. One was high revenue, high profit. Opposite one was low revenue, low profit, and then high revenue, low profit, high profit, low revenue. And so each one of those quadrants gets a different emphasis. So the high profit, low revenue clients get a big emphasis from our marketing team in terms of cross-selling, because if that's a high profit client, but we don't have a lot of revenue, well, there's an opportunity there to get more of that business that's going to be high revenue. If it's high revenue and low profit, that's where I step in and work with the attorney to identify the reasons behind the low profitability. It's typically discounting, leverage, whatever it is. If it's high revenue and high profit, those are your superstar clients. You never have enough of those. So those are the ones you really want to take care of. And then that bottom quadrant, the low profit, low revenue clients, those are clients now that the attorneys have to come to the management committee and justify keeping them. The attorneys have always had more freedom to do what they want, and they will. Even the associates will have the freedom to do what they want, but it's in the associates' best interests in terms of professional development to be around the attorneys that can teach them and help them grow. So we would expect that the associates will coordinate with the senior attorneys or vice versa this year. And with our chapter was a huge part of ALA is the connections and the in-person events and getting together and forming new bonds or just reinforcing the ones you've already had. It was tough not having those opportunities. And so there's a guy here in Chicago on Channel 7, which is the ABC network. He's been the food critic for 17 years. And so he went around to every pizza place in Chicago over 18 months and ended up writing a book. We found out about him and people had said great things. And we decided this is an opportunity for us to all get together and share something. A typical in-person event, you might get 50 or 60 people. A really good turnout might be 75 people. A crazy good turnout is 100 people. And we had well over 150 people to get that many people together. And then the reactions of everybody were amazing. The event was 1 hour, but then we stayed afterwards and we did breakout rooms. And I got more feedback after that event from people who just were so happy to have the opportunity to just connect with people. And honestly, some people had never done breakout rooms before on Zoom. It was just a really nice event. It wasn't crazy expensive. Everybody got a pizza delivered to their house the day of the event with real specific instructions. They literally had a fleet of 6 delivery drivers that started about 10 o'clock that morning delivering the pizzas. For anybody that was out of the local area, we either shipped that pizza overnight or we found a local pizzeria that was comparable. There was a couple people that were dabbing their eyes at the end because it was so good to see everybody together and in their home settings and with their kids, and people just really, really responded well to the sense of community it brought together. What was really nice about ours is we had 90% of our firm attend. It was really a unifying event. The firms will probably concentrate on when we're together. I think about ALA, and that's the $1 million question for us is what are we going to do going forward? And we haven't decided yet. So a year from now, are we going to be back to strictly the way it was, or are we going to have some sort of hybrid model? For me, I think the thing that, and it applied both with my firm and with ALA, is the importance of always making sure people have a connection and people know that you're there for them. Even during the pandemic, once every 3 months or so, I would take a Friday afternoon and I went to a local pie shop and I just grabbed pies for everybody on my team. I drove to each of their houses and I stood and dropped it on their front porch and waved to them from 10 feet away. But little things like that, keeping that connection so that they know that you're still there for them. And seeing the reaction to that reinforced to me that I always have to do that.
Wow. Ken, everybody. Wonderful, wonderful discussion. Thank you so much for being our guest today. It's really been a privilege. And thanks, of course, to SurePoint for just supporting this fantastic series on growth and efficiency. I'm grateful to everyone, and what a fun conversation. Thank you.